Hello and welcome to Crime Bytes, the show where we talk about some truly bizarre and disturbing crime cases. My name is Liz and today is True Crime Tuesday. So this past Sunday was Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Well, I'm going to say the deserving dads because after you hear today's story and considering the last two dads we looked at, I'm thinking not every dad out there deserves a happy Father's Day. But today's story is going to take place around a different holiday, Halloween. We are going to Pasadena, Texas, and we are going trick-or-treating with two families. Jim Bates and Ronald OBryan were each taking their two children trick-or-treating. The weather was not great, but they were all excited and they drove over to one of the nicer neighborhoods nearby in hopes of scoring their children some of the nicer candy than what their neighbors might be giving out. Unfortunately, they ended up only hitting 2 blocks because it was just pouring. After a while, they still managed to get some pretty decent candy. The families each went home to check out exactly how well they did. When the O'Bryans got to their house, they told their children that they could each have 1 piece of candy before bed. Fair enough. So they had 2 children, a 8-year-old boy named Timothy and a 5-year-old daughter named Elizabeth. Timothy chose one of those giant-sized pixie sticks as his candy, and his dad helped him remove a staple from the top of it so he could get to the candy. The candy was a little stuck at the top, as they can get if they're older or get a little damp, I guess. But still good. They're always still good. So he helped Timothy with that, but as soon as the boy got a mouthful, his face completely changed because usually those pixie sticks are like good, delicious, flavored sugar, but Timothy was just like, ugh, this is bitter. So his dad got him a glass of Kool-Aid to help with the taste that he was just saying was disgusting. Shortly after, Timothy would complain of a stomach pain and would end up trying to throw up whatever it was that he had just consumed, but to no avail. Ronald called 911 and would just wait with Timothy on the bathroom floor while he was just convulsing from whatever this was. Unfortunately, Timothy would die on the way to the hospital that night. So what the heck happened here? It was quickly determined that poor little Timothy was poisoned with cyanide, enough to kill 2 people, which led authorities to act very quickly because if 1 child was poisoned on Halloween, there could be more. Because Timothy was poisoned from this pixie stick, the police were looking for those in particular, where they came from and if there could be any left out there. They recovered 1 more from Elizabeth, Timothy's sister, and then they recovered 1 from each of the Bates children, all of which were not consumed. Then they did determine that they were tampered with and stapled closed. 1 other family, when asked if they had any pixie sticks in their son's candy, remembered seeing one, and to their horror, it was not there when they went to check his candy stash. They rushed up to his room and found him laying in his bed, not moving, and clutching a pixie stick. Fortunately, they were able to rouse him and found that he was unable to open the tampered pixie stick because of the staple that had been used to close it. And basically that's what saved this child's life. So now they had to find out where the pixie sticks had come from. So they asked Ronald first, and he was not extremely helpful. He said he couldn't remember the house where he got the pixie sticks, but he remembered the circumstances. The children had rang the doorbell even though the lights were off, which usually means that no one is home or that they're out of candy. So the kids went and dashed off to the next house, but he kind of lingered for a second, and because of that, right before he kind of walked away, the door opened and a hairy man's arm shot out holding these 5 giant pixie sticks. So he grabs them and splits them up between the kids, and he had an extra one after giving them to the 4 kids, and so he gave it to a boy that he recognized from their church who was passing by. The one who luckily couldn't get it open later. So those were some strange details, but he couldn't remember where the house itself was. But when the police kind of were like, yeah, this is strange, and they applied a little more pressure, took him down the blocks, he was able to locate the house that he was talking about, which was great. But then the police went to question Mr. Melvin, the owner of the house, and they found that he was working his usual shift at the airport that night, and his coworkers and timesheets did verify this. So the only 2 people home were his wife and daughter, and that would not explain a hairy man arm that Ronald claimed gave him the candy. So police are looking into Ronald at this point. So let's go over what they find. Ronald was an optician at a well-known Texas optical company, but he was in a great deal of debt. So much so that their family had to sell their house recently to pay for it. But what was strange was that Ronald was going around telling some of the people closest to him that he was about to come into some money soon that was going to change all of that. But nothing about where this money was coming from, which was odd. Odd, except that what he didn't even tell his wife was that he had taken out $30,000 in life insurance policies on each one of his children. His strange behavior didn't stop there. People noticed that while his wife was devastated, he didn't really seem to be. Now, I've said before, and it's true, everyone grieves differently, and this could mean nothing, except it is telling combined with the other circumstantial evidence that was discovered. So one example of this was that he wrote a song to play about his son being in a better place, then got mad at his entire family when they wouldn't stay up to watch the TV broadcast of the replay of him singing it at his son's funeral. Things like that. Then he was asking a professor at a college where he was taking some courses if cyanide or another poison was more lethal. And then another one of his friends remembers an unsuccessful trip to actually go purchase cyanide. And Ronald left because he could only purchase 5 pounds or less. So there's that too. And on top of all of this, they found plastic residue like the kind used to seal the pixie sticks on Ronald's pocket knife. So the theory became that Ronald killed poor Timmy for his life insurance policy and passed out the other pixie sticks to other children just to deflect blame and make it look like someone was poisoning the Halloween candy. Freaking disgusting. Ronald ended up being charged and convicted with capital murder in the death of his son. He was put to death by lethal injection. He was actually the first person in the state of Texas to be killed in this manner. Before he died, he used his final words to protest the death penalty. His last statement was as follows: "What is about to transpire in a few moments is wrong. However, we as human beings do make mistakes and errors. This execution is one of those wrongs, yet doesn't mean our whole system of justice is wrong. Therefore, I would forgive all who have taken part in any way in my death. Also, to anyone I have offended in any way during my 39 years, I pray and ask your forgiveness, just as I forgive anyone who offended me in any way. And I pray and ask God's forgiveness for all of us, respectfully, as human beings. To my loved ones, I extend my undying love. To those close to me, know in your hearts I love you, one and all. God bless you all, and may God's best blessings be always yours. Ronald C. OBryan. P.S. During my time here, I have been treated well by all TDC personnel." Well, that's good. Okay, so he did maintain his innocence, but I don't know. What do you guys think? I think a father killing his son in such a cruel manner, I mean, if we're going to have the death penalty, there you go, sir. It's yours. People came out to celebrate his execution, and apparently people were chanting trick or treat. So if your parents ever checked your candy after Halloween, now you know why. And that is going to do it. But as always, let's end today on a more positive note. So we'll look at spreading some love and cheer on Halloween with a church that does just that. So every Halloween, this church receives candy and toy donations, which they bring to sick children who cannot go out trick-or-treating on Halloween night, so they can have a little fun on a night that usually means so much at that age and that they would otherwise miss out on. If you or a group you work with is interested in doing something like this, be sure to contact your hospital first to make sure it's okay and to set it up before you do. But we definitely do need more people like this in our cruel world. So guys, let me know what you think about today's story in the comments below. Do you think there is or was enough circumstantial evidence to convict Ronald? And what about putting him to death? Enough evidence? What a horrible man, though. I do. And finally, if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe and please stay safe out there. Have a great week. Bye.